Today we're talking about how humbling an INFJ can go wrong. Because in a grand scheme of things, in my opinion, there are 4 ways this can play out. And out of those 4 ways, there's only one way that will make another person feel good about the humbling of the INFJ. And it's only because we choose not engage and look the other way and do our own thing. But let's talk about all of them, because I believe once we understand this dynamic, we can actually, transform this entire dynamic and never ever get in situations where people try to humble us more than once. Because once they do, they recognize, oh, that does not make me feel good. So I'm not going to do that again. So let's talk about it, because this is not only something fun to think about, but it's actually a point that can help us in our self-growth. That is something that can help us with all our relationships. And in the end, that's what we want: peace, harmony, and joy with other people. So before we get started, just a quick reminder, the INFJ Epic Life Bootcamp launches July 20th. I'm looking forward to seeing many of you join our amazing community. I love it there. I love what we do. I love what we've achieved and everything we're going to achieve in the future. And I really hope that you're going to be part of it. So everything you need to know, you can find in the links in the description. You can join the waiting list to get access to the early bird price. You can download the poster, and everything else you might want to know, you can find in the links in the description. So in most cases, when somebody tries to humble the INFJ, it's not necessarily that they only try to humble the INFJ. They try to humble everybody, but we're like the perfect recipient of it. Why? Because very often we are laid back. We allow people to be themselves. We actually thrive on the fact that people underestimate us. We don't feel like we have to prove anything. And I don't believe that this is something we have to change, but it invites people to try to humble us. Because I see it like this: it's not that we are not open to constructive criticism. Oh, we can take constructive criticism. We actually thrive on that. But it's one thing for another person to say, listen, I saw what you did there. I don't think that's the best way to approach it. Do you think it might be better if you do it this way? This is not humbling. This is somebody giving you their opinion, and you can take in that information, think about it, and say, yeah, you're right. I'm going to do better next time. Or, I don't see it this way. I know why you're saying this, but I'm just going to continue on my path. When there's this notion of I want to humble that person, there's always a level of control. There's always something of I don't feel powerful enough, so I need to push you down. That's it. And if a person tries to do this to you, it doesn't mean that that's a bad person. Every one of us has self-sabotaging behavior. Every one of us has behavior that is, controlling to the outside. Of course, ideal humans wouldn't have that, but we're all human. We all have unresolved stuff and things happen, right? So I'm not villainizing a person generally who tries to humble you. That being said, that doesn't mean that we have to let them continue with that. Because, I talked about 4 ways this could play out. Number 1, somebody's trying to humble you and you are so aware of that situation. You see their insecurities to such an extent that you let them have it. And in those situations where you let them have it and where you don't have a reaction to that, it's probably somebody you're meeting only once. So that is somebody who you may meet once because, they're creating your driver's license, or they're there to, do your passport, or it's just somebody that you meet, in a setting that you're never going to meet again. In those situations, most likely, we're going to let people get away with it because we're like, why bother? I don't care. Let them think what they want. I'm going to be the bigger person here. And it's okay, because it really doesn't affect us. We can really walk away and say, this hasn't had any effect on my inner peace. We can honestly say that to ourselves. But if it happens more than once, or if it's somebody that you're going to be around with. So for example, a colleague says that to you when you're new at a job, right? Those are situations that are definitely going to have an effect on you. And then when we get to scenario 2 to 4, because those are situations that will have an effect on you. And how does that play out? So either the INFJ doesn't want to rock the boat because it feels uncomfortable, then we're going to allow that person to humble us and we're not going to say anything about it. And we're going to continue allowing that person to do so because we feel like, okay, that's the best way for me to, keep my head above water. I just don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to create a scene. Like, what for? I'm above this. And we've talked about this in the last video. Allowing another person's energy into your sphere will have an effect on you. You will not be able to make logical decisions. It's just how it is. We are more feelers than we're thinkers. And the more we allow that energy in, the more we're going to be affected by that. So if we allow another person to bring their negative energy into us, it will have an effect on us. Why am I saying this? Because at some point you will freak out. At some moment you will retaliate. At some moment you will do the door slam. At some moment you will speak your truth, and it will come out harshly, it will come out vindictively, and it will come out in a way that's going to hit him where they never expected it. So this is something that the other person definitely doesn't want. They just don't think it's possible. They have no idea how much willpower you have that you can just stay calm on the outside. And you probably also think, oh, I can hold this forever. But that person will not stop. They will not stop, because what they want is to really humble you. And in order to humble you, there has to be a level of pushback. If a person is humbling you, what they want is, look at my power, and you say, no, look at my power. And they say, oh, I'm more powerful than you. Whoosh. That's what they want. That's what gives them this false sense of, I feel good about myself, putting another person down. But if you don't react at all, they have no idea what's going on. It is uncertainty. And specifically, if you don't react at all, they feel powerless. But here's the interesting part, and this is what we have to understand. This will never make a person stop doing it. Because, they're not getting the response that they want, and they're not even getting the response that they don't want. They just don't get any response at all. They don't know what you're about. And so they will continue and continue and continue. And if we don't know ourselves enough to know that at some point this is where this is leading, this is the first scenario that will happen in those circumstances where we actually have a response. And that response will be very harsh. It will be aggressive. It will all come out because we just can't hold it in anymore. So yeah, this is a very uncomfortable feeling for the INFJ, but this is also a very uncomfortable situation for the other person. So definitely not something that they expected, and they will think twice about humbling the INFJ again. The third situation, so we talked about the first one is where you allow somebody to humble you and you just don't care because it's not worth it. The second one is if that person is around you and you still want to keep the peace, but you're actually just keeping the peace outside of you, you're not keeping the peace within you. That will, if you really let it play out, at some moment you will just burst out and it will have this effect. The third one is that if you already know that this is a dynamic of how you work, so if somebody continuously tries to humble you, you're going to react this way. And you already know that you're not the reason that people are trying to humble you. That's just how they are. They have this sense of, I need to control other people in one way or another in order for me to feel good about myself. Because of some internal things going on, childhood trauma, whatever it may be. And I'm not going to be the recipient of that. So since I know that, I'm not going to allow them to do this at all. So the first time they do it, I directly let them know this is not what you should be doing. This is not going to end well for you. Because I know myself, and I know if it really goes down that path, at some moment I will snap. So I don't ever want it to get this way. On top of that, now I'm committed to my inner peace. So if you try to infiltrate my peace, I know I'm not unbiased. I know I cannot pretend like it has no effect on me, because it has an effect on me. So I'm going to stop you right there. Like one of the things I told to a colleague of mine, it was one of my first days at my last job. So that's like 6-7 years ago when I was still working, right? And this guy, I don't even remember exactly what he said, but he was so bossy towards me. And it was a guy in my age, who's been there just a little bit longer. And he was telling me what to do. And in such a, I'm trying to humble you. I'm trying to tell you you're nothing. And, you have to listen to me. And I said to him, I looked straight into his face and I said, I'm going to let you get away with this one time, because we don't know each other. But just know this is not the way you can speak to me. And he was taken back because he was not even aware that he was doing something that was inappropriate. People who have any internal issues and are looking for a way out, most of the time, they don't even consciously know that they're doing it. So, like, even if that person doesn't know what they're doing, that is no excuse for them to put this on you. You're not an emotional garbage bag. You're not somebody who's the recipient of other people's frustrations. So, even if people have frustrations and they say, oh, it's too much to ask of me to not let my frustration out, you're just in my vicinity. Well, if that is the case, right, you can do whatever you like. But then know there will be a reaction. And my reaction is not going to make you feel good, because what I'm saying is the truth. You cannot speak to me this way. This is not appropriate behavior. I'm not speaking to you this way, so you better not speak to me either this way. And harsh truth in the beginning of such a dynamic will actually ease the blow. It will just be a short shock to the system, and it will rearrange the dynamic. Because then this person feels like, oh, I'm going to feel bad about myself. I'm going to feel weak, or I'm going to feel, I did something wrong, or I'm not strong enough to act in a professional way or in a kind way, or whatever it may be. And they internalize that. This is the metaphor of, you can tell a kid, don't touch the stove. They're probably going to try to do it anyway. The moment they burn their finger a little bit, they're not going to come close to that stove, right? So that's what we want. We want a person to understand on a subconscious level, this is going to cause me pain, so that's why I'm not doing this again. So we already talked about 3 situations when it comes to, how humbling an INFJ can go wrong. The 4th one is if somebody's trying to humble you and you even react this way, you show them your boundaries and they do not flinch. They don't care. It doesn't have any effect on them. And that is also a moment where we have to take action, because we know if a person acts this way and if they continue acting this way, this will have an effect on how I feel inside. This will create this harmony within me. Like sometimes it's not even that that person has bad intentions. They just can't control themselves and they're all over the place. And so often, if we continuously allow that person to be in our vicinity, if we allow that person's energy to come into our sphere, we will have more and more understanding for them. And we will forget about the fact that this is causing us to be dysregulated, that our nervous system is not at peace. And so we have to know ourselves well enough to leave that situation. One way or another, we have to cut it off. That person is not changing their behavior, not even if you really express your truth, but very often it does. Like, don't underestimate how well that can work. Don't ever walk away from a situation if you haven't tried out speaking your truth, because otherwise you will always just run away from situations and there will just be nothing left. But if you really said your harsh truth and that person doesn't care. And I've never really experienced it to such an extent. People actually go away because they know that you're not the one that they can act like this towards. You're not going to give them the reaction that they want. But even if they did, then walk away. Walk away, protect your inner peace, because that's actually real self-confidence. It's knowing yourself. It's being aware that it will have an effect on me. I'm not going to pretend that I'm above it, that I'm like this very unbiased, person who can take whatever energy is going around me and I can heal them because of my inner peace. No, it will have an effect on my inner peace. I'm not going to overvalue external peace for my inner peace. My inner peace comes first. And if a person, again, recognizes, well, that person is not to be humbled, they are telling me the truth. And if I don't, change my behavior, they're just gone. Then they also are not getting what they want. So humbling an INFJ will never ever be something that somebody will have a real benefit from. It might look like this at first, but the moment the INFJ, really takes responsibility for their actions, so they either speak their truth, which definitely should be please your go-to thing. And if that really doesn't work out, if you stand your ground, then you walk away. But you really do walk away. You do not stay in the situations because you know yourself well enough to know that this will have an effect on you. And your inner peace is your biggest power and your best tool in life. So protect that at any cost. if you want to expand your inner peace, if you just want to expand your life altogether, if you want to create more abundance, then definitely join our amazing INFJ Epic Life Bootcamp community. That's all that we do. We come together, we encourage each other, we work on the things that really work for us INFJs. We make it happen. We have the dialogue, we have the exercises. We really walk the talk. We put it into action. We see what things are happening in the real world, and we take the experience and let it transform us into the next level of our evolution. We really work on creating our INFJ epic life, and it feels epic the moment you start. So if you want to join us, I really welcome you to do that. It's an amazing community. It's a safe space, and I'm so excited for everybody that joins us. It's lifetime access. So, the INFJs keep coming back, and they're like great shepherds in that whole process. They show you the ropes. They show you how it works. So there's always somebody at your side that helps you to take the next step towards your INFJ epic life on your terms. So everything you need to know, you can find in links in the description. We launched July 20th. Remember, all the links are in the description. And if you want to watch another video now that is in alignment with today's topic, then check out the video you see on the screen right now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.